thing, you know, where your live feed is getting really good views. So 20 minutes in, the comment section suddenly shuts off. You guys know how that's like, that happens all the time on YouTube, right? You guys see that every time you're watching YouTube, right? Somebody goes live, they talking about something important, seemingly having a pretty good response, 60 some viewers within a few minutes, and maintaining that view count, flirting with going higher, and suddenly the comment section just shuts off from their perspective. I don't know if it happens from your guys' perspective when it happens for me, but it happens to me every couple videos. Not every time. I'm not going to say it happens every time. I'm not a liar. But how often do you ever hear of that happening for people? I mean, if you know that if that's something that's common, by all means, tell me. Then I won't feel so isolated. But if that's not something you've heard of, well, like, think about it. What does it mean? It seems that would be a significant thing. If you can find a YouTube video where it's unique in this day and age, that should be not a red flag, but a green flag, you know. That should be something that at least makes you pay attention. Why is something unique happening on YouTube? And if you can answer it, then again, alleviate my concerns. Wow, almost lost that one. Right. So, I decided to randomly today talk about KONY 2012. I don't know if you guys remember it or not, but to me, it's the first social media psyop. And I talked about it in part 1 of this. Looks like part 2 is not going to be allowed to do much better. I have 0 views. I went from 3 down to 0. That's new. But even the idea of, me titling my video that, using that thumbnail like I did, that should evoke emotions in people. People should be scrolling through and going, hey, wait, I remember that shit. What the fuck? What happened to that? Like, that should be your thought process there. Because I'm actually gonna do something I don't normally do, which is reread this. Because it's extremely telling. KONY 2012 is a 2012 American short documentary film produced by Invisible Children. The film's purpose was to make Uganda cult leader, war criminal, and ICC fugitive Joseph Kony globally known so as to have him arrested by the end of 2012. The film was released on March 5th, 2012, and spread virally. And the campaign was initially supported by various celebrities. As of June 2024, the film had received over 103 million views and 1.3 million likes. So 1% of the people that watch it like it. On the video sharing website YouTube, and over 18.7 million views and over 21.8 thousand likes on Vimeo, with other views on a central KONY 2012 website operated by Invisible Children. At the time, the video was the most liked on the whole of YouTube and is the first video to ever reach 1 million likes, which really says a lot. It says that we as Goyim are good. inherently were good, were better than they expected. I think it shocked them how well this thing did. It's like this should be a great reason why when Corey Feldman said, "Hey, I'm going to come out and make this film. I need some help." There should have been people knocking down his door, because that film would make a huge splash. People would that would be one of the biggest films ever made if it was made in a proper way and then distributed properly. They could have made a shit ton of money off of that film. And that's what this shows. But that's a whole other rabbit hole that literally only makes sense when you connect the Israeli aspect to it. But you don't want to talk about that. The intense exposure of the video caused the KONY2012 website to crash shortly after it began gaining widespread popularity. Which isn't how it works. If something gets too good, it gets going too good. And my previous part 1 of this proves it. The comment section gets shut off consistently, but it's usually around the 50-minute to hour and 20-minute mark. That's the most common time. It happens at multiple times, but that's the most common time. Very, very rarely does it happen in the beginning of the video, 20 minutes in. But it's proof that when they don't want something to go, they cause problems. If you really wanted to talk about submarines, you just go watch parts 1 through 9. I say it all the time. You know that. You've been here before. If you really wanted to know my stance on submarines, you'd just go watch it, and then you'd have your answers. But you don't want to do that. Anyway, and again, why would anybody want me to? You come on a video where it's titled KONY2012 Second Attempt. It has the KONY2012 as the thumbnail, which isn't something I normally do. But you come here and you want me to stop talking about what I'm talking about. For what reason? Why is anything more important than protecting the children? Than exposing the network and protecting the children? Even if we were talking about submarines in this feed, and we happen to venture into the conversation of protecting children, that should then dominate, and nobody should be talking about, oh, stop talking about that. Why don't we go back to talking about submarines? That's why I'm here. Go watch submarine videos then. Once you realize this wasn't about submarines, if you were that into submarines, you should probably just go watch something else. Seems pretty simple. A poll suggested that more than half of the young adult Americans heard about KONY2012 in the days following the video's release. It was included among the top international events of 2012 by PBS, and called the most viral video ever by Time magazine in 2013. Which again is just is extremely telling, that when something that is that goes in that direction is presented to the Goyim population, we gravitate towards it. And when it's allowed to exist free reign without any restrictions on it, it just snowballs. People want to talk about these things. We don't want to live in a world where this shit is happening, and just because it's happening far away and we can't see it doesn't mean we don't care. Like that's not the world we want to live in. We want to live in a world where it's safe. Safe for our children, safe for your children, safe for everyone's children. And the only way that happens as if we goyim unify and overthrow the cult, the J cult, that controls the world as we speak, that has things the way they are, that has laws that need to be changed, right? There's laws that need to be changed. Why? Why do those laws need to be changed in the first place? Who made them in the way that they are that protects the pedos? And why hasn't the system just been like, oh shit, we need to change this old ass law, this one's bad? The campaign resulted in a resolution. Well, let me read this first. The campaign resulted in a resolution by the United States Senate and contributed to the African Union's decision to send troops to catch KONY. So, show me a protest where people go out and they block the streets, or they stand there with signs and they chant things or whatever, that directly leads to change. That change comes as a result of it. That shit doesn't happen. However, when we show unity in cyberspace at the very least, but when it's something that's this unified front, this thing that connects us all, where we don't necessarily have to leave our homes, but we can show support for it anyway, like a feed like this, then it goes. That's what should be happening. You know, when people discover that somebody is telling the truth, they're drawn to it. Truth is sexy, man. Not like you want to fuck it, but it draws your attention. The Grand Canyon, it's truth. It's beautiful. You don't want to fuck it, but it's beautiful, and you recognize it. You're drawn to it. It's the same kind of shit. So feeds like this, where somebody like me is telling the truth about something, you know, it should be allowed to blossom as a normal feed would. But, you know, or simply just explain to me why the comment section got shut off in part 1. We'll just go with that. The film also called for an April 20 worldwide canvassing campaign called Cover the Night. On April 5th, 2012, Invisible Children released a follow-up video titled KONY2012 Part 2 Beyond Famous, which failed to repeat the success of the original. So, the synopsis of the first film. The film documents Invisible Children's plans and efforts to capture Joseph Kony. It describes Kony's actions with his rebel militia group Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, which again says a lot about religion. Including forced recruitment of child soldiers, and the regions, North Uganda and Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan, in which they have been active. It's strange, like, if it was literally only came down to we cared, then the Palestine situation would be the number one story in the world consistently. You know, this was clearly manipulated behind the scenes to see what would happen. Prove submarines aren't real. I am so much more concerned with your belief in submarines than I am what you're talking about, than what the video's titled. I want to hear about submarines. And I know you say go watch the first videos and that should answer your questions, but I'm not going to do that. I want you to stop talking about what you're talking about, bozo. Talk about submarines now. Who's gonna do that? Like, seriously, what sort of person does that? Dude, you titled the video about subs, did I? Or do you not understand how titles work? Are you somebody that you know, bought tickets to 9 Inch Nails expecting to see 9 Inch Nails on stage? Do you go to the Shell gas station looking to buy seashells? Or do you understand that things can be called something? And when they're called one thing, and then it says part this, that, or the other, it shows you that, you know, especially when the thumbnail is one thing, but then it says part this too, that's the same thing, you would think you might be able to, you know, put two and two together. You'd think. The reason I said 9 Inch Nails is because it is introduced with the song Ghosts by 9 Inch Nails, and the text, nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. Stoner can't stay on topic and false headlines. Yeah. Stuttering. Yep, I'm stuttering because I'm so stupid. That's what it is. Can you please talk about the gosh darn submarines? I do it all the time. If I start talking about the submarines, you'll talk about something else. You won't engage the conversation anyway. But if you really wanted to talk about submarines, you would just go watch the previous videos. Seems pretty weird to me that you have such an issue with it. You'd rather me talk about that than Trump, Jews, space, everything else, right? Submarines are this big deal in your world. Dude, I wear submarine t-shirts all the time. Like, I got submarines all over my house, man. Every time I say my prayers when I eat my food, it's like, God bless the submarines. Because I'm like really, really into submarines, you guys. I'm really into them. Talk about the situation in Palestine and Gaza. That's the thing. That's what we should be talking about. And I am, in a roundabout way, talking about that. That's why I'm talking about KONY2012. It is the conversation to be had. As well as the idea that being a Trump supporter exposes you as a pedo at this point, too. Like, we have to acknowledge that. That if you support a pedo, you know, to me, you must be a pedo. You got it. Bye. I'm leaving. Met is one hell of a drug. I love it. You can't even be bothered to talk your shit correctly. Whoa. And you have to ask yourself, just like if I'm talking about the Palestine situation, the genocide that's taking place, if I'm talking about the J control, if I'm talking about the pedophilia, who opposes those conversations? Who thinks that's something we shouldn't be talking about? And why? Sorry, I'm working, says the guy that's watching a YouTube video at work. He's doing a job that apparently he can't spell words correctly because he's doing his job at the exact same time as he's watching this YouTube video and talking shit. Because that makes sense, right? I love how they think they're saying something, like they think they're like, ooh, I'm gonna get him with this. And then it's like another thing that proves how stupid they are. I couldn't, if I wanted the easy win, I couldn't ask for better. I wish it was a more difficult fight. I wish they actually were reasonably intelligent, had something to say. But this guy, this profile has been in existence for 12 years and has 2 subscribers. Yeah, that's a believable one for me. It's just, you know, again, it's this incredible stupidity where it's not like they're gonna come on the page and be like, yo, I'm a pedophile and I think what I do is okay and you know, blah, blah. They're not going to come in here and say that. They're cowards. Right? It's not socially acceptable. It's socially acceptable to say you're a Trump supporter. It's socially acceptable to say that, you know, you hate flat earthers and just all kinds of stupid shit like that. These are things that are socially acceptable. So you have to look at you know, you have to sort of read between the lines with a lot of this. You have to ask yourself the most important question, which is what motivates people? What motivates people to do anything? What would motivate somebody to come on here and try to change the subject off of we need to kill pedos, we need to stop the genocide, we need to end the cult? Like, what's going to motivate somebody to do that? Especially, apparently, somebody that's working, right? You're at work, and instead of doing your job correctly, you're begging for my attention by saying stupid shit that makes you look like a pedo, that makes you look like a fucking, you know, a genocide Israeli supporting dumb goyim. That's what we're doing. Yeah. I'm such a triggered person. So if I respond, then I'm triggered, and if I don't, then I'm avoiding the conflict. I'm scared. Like I say, these guys out themselves. It's literally a situation where if they could debunk anything I say, they would. If I screw something up and I say something wrong, or I get a date wrong, or whatever it may be, and they can jump in and be like, oh, you're stupid, you got it wrong, they're going to. So why don't they ever address this one simple thing? Other than saying, well, it's because I don't listen. Well, I would tell you why I'm here, but you're not going to listen. So I'm just going to say a bunch of other shit that you apparently won't listen to, but that stuff's okay. Like the resistance is so stupid and so, you know, flimsy because there's nothing there. How do you oppose the guy that says we should kill pedos? How do you oppose the guy that says we should stop genocide and we should eliminate the J control? You can't. You end up saying shit like tard. Who even says that shit anymore? What kind of like, just like low level stupid person still says shit like that? It's them. It's them. And when you look into them, it's really clear to see it, right? It's just, this is how they operate. If you look at any if you look at like any talking head video where an Israeli representative is speaking to someone asking questions, it's like, oh, it's Hamas, it's Hamas, it's Hamas, everything is Hamas's fault. Or if you don't accept that, then immediately that's anti-Semitism, and you know, they just start saying stupid shit. They don't deny what's being said. You know, they don't even justify it. They just tell you you're not supposed to talk about it. And that's what they do in the comment section all the time. Constantly trying to tell me to stop talking about these things. Like these aren't the most important things in the world right now. Let's see, bro, I'm coming here to say how fucking right you were about everything about a month ago. Yeah, well, I don't know which thing it was, but it was probably the same shit that I'm saying now. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Biden did a good job last 4 years? I don't know. Trump was a better choice. But how? What part was better about Trump? I'm extremely curious. Is it the gas prices that have been lowered? No. Is it the food prices that have been lowered? No. Is it the drug prices that have been lowered? No. The drug prices are going to be lowered 1,000%, 1,500%. This man literally said these things. If you lower it to 100%, then it's free. If you lower the cost of something by 100%, it's free. Anything under that or more than that means they would have to give you money. Do you know how stupid that man is to have said that shit? Like, it's just so fucking embarrassing how stupid they have everyone. As far as, you know, if you still believe the president is like a real person who sits around his Oval Office and balances the budget and thinks about foreign policy and, you know, Susie, can you bring me in the budget numbers? I need to balance this real quick. You know, the president is a figurehead. He's a character given to us. And what that president represents is one thing. Like, it represents how they're manipulating us at the time. And how we as a society respond, like how we feel about each other. And especially when it comes to Trump. Trump is a symbol for something. Trump doesn't represent this exceedingly good presidency where shit got balanced out. There was no issues, there was no turmoil. He wasn't associated with pedophilia. Like, Trump doesn't represent good things. It's literally shit after shit after shit because he's a piece of shit. And there's no question about it. But it's you know, Trump represents racism, sexism, homophobia, you know, religious supremacy. He represents all these really awful things that, by saying you're a Trump supporter, and at this point, pedophilia, whether you like it or not, but by saying you support Trump, instead of being, you know, brave enough to say, oh, you know, I'm racist, I'm sexist, I'm homophobic, you don't have to say those things anymore. You can say I support Trump and you get your point across. And so, you know, when you see, you know, like anybody here supporting Trump, it's pretty simple to see that you know, you can assume that they're a white guy. Just a dumbass, you know, small dick white guy who you know, is angry at the world and is wound up so tightly, is wound up, has been stoked so much that somehow they're the victim. White people are the victims of things, and, you know, they would have gotten that job if not for affirmative action. It was down to, there was one position left, and it was between him and a less qualified black guy. But because they needed to have a black guy, they got rid of you, who was much more qualified. They didn't just open up an extra position for you because you were so qualified and good for it. Nope, they only had that. They could only keep one of you, so the racism is just ridiculous. And it really does come down to dicks. At the end of the day, the perceived narrative is that white people are on top. Even though it's not, they don't consider themselves white. But, you know, in general, they're white. White people have the government. White people have banking. You know, white people have the justice system. White people have the military. White people make up 69% of the population, unless you take out those with Hispanic backgrounds who just consider themselves white, then it's only 55%. White people make up 69% of the population. They do everything that's bad. Other than black on black crime, they do everything worse than anyone else. Black people only make up 13% of the population. There's way more white people on welfare. There's way more white murderers. There's way more white, pedos for sure. There's way more white people on welfare. Did I already say welfare? Welfare. There's just way more white people doing all of it. It's a numbers thing. It just makes more sense. We're way more white people killed by cops than black people. However, when 69% of the population is killed, 55% of the time, or 60% of the time, whatever, that's one thing. When 13% of the population is killed 33% of the time, that's a huge disparity. But these are numbers that people just don't like, right? These are facts. People don't like facts. Most people are really stupid. Most people haven't read something in a very long time, unless it was like ingredients or some shit. Most people are way too cowardly to, be the one that stands up to the tyranny. They'll follow whatever situation is going to work out for them. But they won't stand up to things until the group does. And that's what KONY2012 really showed. So let's go back to it. Nothing is more powerful than the idea whose time is now. Then, a view of the sun shining at the earth is shown, and director Jason Russell speaks the phrase, "Right now there are more people on Facebook than there were on the planet 200 years ago. Humanity's greatest desire is to belong and connect, and now we see each other, we hear each other, we share what we love. And this connection is changing the way the world works." It's a great fucking quote. The first scene after introduction shows the birth of Jason Russell's son, Gavin. The film contains rich sound design and 3D animations of pictures mapped over an Earth globe, as well as a crowd of people from bird's eye view. One of the main people featured in the film is a young Ugandan named Jacob Aveye, whose brother was killed by the LRA in response. In response, director and founder of Invisible Children, Jason Russell, promised Jacob that he will help stop KONY, quote, stop KONY. The film advocates the restoration of social order and curtailing compelled and coerced youth military service. The video also has clips of Jason Russell's son reacting to the information about KONY. Near the end of the film, a 2011 announcement from U.S. President Barack Obama is shown authorizing the deployment of 100 special forces military advisors to provide information, advice, and assistance to partner nation forces of Central Africa countries to remove Joseph Kony from the battlefield. The video concludes by urging viewers to join its publicity campaign by putting up posters and helping out in their communities. In a later scene in the film, an action scene shows people sticking KONY 2012 posters in various places in a town, with the music "I Can't Stop" by Flux Pavilion playing in the background. That's a great song. I can't stop. And what Jay-Z and Kanye did with it is fucking fantastic too. In the last minute of the film, the countdown that was first shown near the beginning, when the narrator said, "And the next 27 minutes are an experiment," finishes and textual calls to action are presented. The Invisible Children Charity has focused on obtaining support of a select group of individuals in order to help bring awareness to the abuse and killing of children in the East and Central African countries at the hands of KONY and his leadership. This list includes 20 celebrity culture makers, such as George Clooney, Angelina Jolie, Oprah Winfrey, who significantly helped to spread the video, Taylor Swift, and Ryan Seacrest. Wow. Where are all those same celebrities when it comes to Palestine? Kanye is awesome. I have a hard time. Like I think Kanye is the example of what happens when somebody, goes against the narrative, maybe. Or maybe it's just a carefully crafted work to show you what it's supposed to look like. I don't know. I know the only reason we ever knew about Kanye saying those things, "I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jays," and, I can say what I want. Black people are Semitic too, and everyone in Hollywood has Jays in their background. Like, the only reason we know about that is because the J media told us to care. And at the same time, they were putting Netanyahu, Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, and a bunch of other crazy cult members in charge of Israel. They were starting the genocide, basically, which would take place less than a year later. Actually, like right around a year later. But instead of us focusing on the fact that an openly supremacist coalition who flat out said that they were going to retake the West Bank, like that's what they ran on, that they were being put in despite the fact Netanyahu was under indictment and all this other shit, preparing us for Trump. But instead of us focusing on that, we were focused on Kanye. And Kanye has said and done all kinds of shit since then that none of us know about because nobody follows Kanye, and we don't, they're not telling us to look at him. So it really is like, it's interesting. He's saying the right things, but, what is it? Is it real? Is it manufactured? Is it a setup for another narrative? Or is he really that guy? I don't know. I'd love to know. I'd love to interview. I'd love to work with. I'd love to, I've always been a Kanye fan. You won't find a video of me talking about how much I hate Kanye and, whatever. I did make the song The Kanye Deception, which was about that whole thing and how that worked out. And, I don't know what Kanye's role was in it, but he definitely played a role. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? The pretty clouds just going in straight lines like that. Isn't that pretty? The list also featured 12 policymakers that have, quote, the power to keep U.S. government officials in Africa in order to work towards the capture of KONY. This list includes former President George W. and his Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, who you've never heard anything about since. Condoleezza Rice has just disappeared. And former Secretary of State John Kerry, who there's the Kerry conspiracy as well. The Kerry that we're shown is not the right John Kerry. It's not. He got killed in an ambush. And then they manufactured a story that he broke his leg. He broke his femur, but was up and moving and back to work in 3 weeks. And I mean, it was just, The whole story is crazy. If you look into John Kerry assassinated, you'd be surprised by what you'll find. Of course, it's just a crazy conspiracy, though. You know, the gentleman is saying it's his life. He can talk about what he wants. Yeah, but if they're entitled J pieces of shit who don't want people to know about these things or talk about these, don't want Goyim talking about them, then it sort of explains what's going on. Because it really doesn't make any sense why anybody would be here and be so opposed to somebody that's, you know, talking about killing pedos. What is the YouTube documentary you suggest people watch? Hollywoodism. It's the only thing you should need to watch. Hollywoodism. The link will be in the description after the video. If you need it right now, it's in the previous description. Hollywoodism. Sounds like the cicada agrees. A number of celebrities endorsed the awareness campaign against KONY, including Justin Bieber, Bill Gates, Christina Milian, Nicki Minaj, Kim Kardashian, Pete Wentz, Rihanna, and Elliot Page. I mean, you look at that list now and it just sounds different, doesn't it? His role is not over. Yeah, I know, it's interesting. I don't know what to think about Kanye. As part of the campaign, U.S. supporters were asked to put up posters in their hometowns in action named Cover the Night. So immediately I go, all right, who provided the Cover the Night posters? How much were they? I mean, do you get it? These posters definitely aren't going to be cheap. And you're not just going to print them off your fucking computer and you know, go with that. Hollywoodism is insane. Hollywoodism, you know, I suggest you watch it slowly. Meaning, like, you don't do anything else. You watch it, you rewind it, and you rewatch certain parts, and you pay attention to what people are saying. Because they're absolute, like, if I've said this time and time again, if I made Hollywoodism and I used people of color, and instead of saying us and we, I said they and them, but everything else was word for word, it would be panned. It would be called, you know, anti-Semitic and anti-Semitism and using anti-Semitic tropes, and you know, it would be just it would be so terrible. How dare you suggest that the Jews control Hollywood and ran Hollywood, and you know, who gave you permission to use that clip from whatever the fuck that movie was called? You know, it starts off really slow. It starts off by showing some Yentl type fucking bullshit narrative, because they love to show you this narrative of, like, you know, they were forced into these poor ghetto communities, and then they show the video of it, and it's always this huge buildings, you know, towns, and like, clearly these people weren't suffering. And if you really pay attention to the videos, like, that supposedly show action scenes, like, it's obviously dummies and shit that are used. Like, it's all just fake. It's all fake bullshit. So, the Cover the Night, which took place April 20th, 4/20/2012, bro. Invisible Children offered posters and t-shirts in an attempt to gain wider recognition. Yep, and again, how much were the posters? How much were the t-shirts? I bet they made a significant amount of money. They also created action kits to help spread awareness that included campaign buttons, posters, bracelets, and stickers. The announcement video to Cover the Night was aired on April 4th, 2012. The Cover the Night event took place worldwide on April 20th. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to keep reading. Nothing? Nope. Nothing. Have a great day. So, again, it just... The Cover the Night event took place worldwide and was to be conducted by supporters who were encouraged to perform some sort of charity work that morning in their local community. Then, that evening, they were to post flyers and posters throughout their city for the KONY 2012 campaign. And then who's going to clean all that shit up? I mean, that's so many trees. That's so much litter. It's really interesting. The turnout for the event worldwide was much smaller than initially expected, with no organized spots officially announced, and many fewer people attending than had pledged to attend. A tweet from Invisible Children stated, "There is no official meetup as we are asking people to act locally with friends and family in their neighborhoods." Despite over 50,000 people signing up and buying kits, very few people actually participated. One gathering in Vancouver had only 17 people. Another in Brisbane had fewer than 50. In Keelowan, British Columbia, several signs and posters were put up, including 2 large banners that were placed on both sides of the pedestrian overpass. In Canberra, several Facebook groups resulted in few gatherings of 2 or 3 people each. In Phoenix, 200 posters were put up by college students and other people in their teens and 20s, along with a number of chalk and stencil messages. See, again, the thing about it is we have to acknowledge the fact that people are inherently lazy. And trying to get people to, especially, I don't know what day this is. If it's a day of work, then people aren't going to take off work. And if it's not a day of work, then they've been working all week. They don't want to, bust their ass and go out and do something. The reason that the initial movie was so successful is because it was something people could enjoy in their homes. They could share it with each other in privacy. That's why music is so important. That's why the download is free. Because all it is trying to get people on the same page. Yeah, I'm just scrolling. It's not fascist or far right and a Nazi. Learn your history. I mean, it's just stupid. They're just stupid. They're they're monkeys just shitting in their hands and throwing anything they can against the wall, hoping it sticks. Just diarrhea all in their hands and throwing it at each other, throwing it at the walls, and they're fucking, they're amazed because none of this shit sticks. It's just stupid. So I guess I'm gonna have to look up the guy, Jordan Russell. Let's see what the Jordan Russell page says, because I wanna hear about the part where he broke. Yup, and you are the smart one out of the bunch. Yeah, by far. When it comes to this particular issue, you're not even close. You're borderline special. I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything. I'm sure you know more about mopping floors than I do, and you know more about blowing guys than I do. But things along this line, I know more about than you do, and I'm literally reading it so I can learn as much as I can about this stuff. Jason Russell, born October 12th, 1978, and this is all locked, by the way. Can't adjust this one. Is an American film and theater director, choreographer, and activist who co-founded Invisible Children, Inc. He is the director of KONY 2012, a short documentary film that went viral in the beginning of March 2012. In the first 2 weeks following its release, the documentary gained more than 83 million views on YouTube and became the subject of media scrutiny and criticism. Why? Its subject is the Ugandan rebel leader Joseph Kony, alleged war crime. And when I do bring up how much money they made, they have to make money. As an organization, you have to make money to be able to do what you need to do. So, selling shirts and posters and shit, well, if they then turned that into exposure, that's great. And if they made their lives better for doing it, that's great too. If you're able to make your life better because of the good work you do, it's the same thing as doing slave labor. It's just been, we've just been somehow fooled into thinking it's different somehow. It's really crazy how they give us that, be happy with what you have perspective. Don't want more. Don't celebrate more. Don't give yourself credit. If you do something good, it's because God did it. God made you catch that football. It's subject to blah, blah, blah. Okay. Early life, career, and education. Russell is the younger son of Cheryl Hortman. There you go. And Paul Russell, co-founders of Christian Youth Theater, which Russell was a part of as a child. Russell discussed acting in an interview when he was 13. That was my life. It was what everyone around me did. I didn't even think about it. I did my first show at 8, and I have done over 20 plays since. You can't do this if you don't like it. You have to commit to yourself. Russell graduated from the USC School of Cinematic Arts. That's literally his early life and education. That's what it says. Russell, Bobby Bailey, and Laren Poole created the Invisible Children organization in 2006 after they traveled to Uganda and witnessed children camping out in the city of Gulu to avoid being kidnapped into the militia in their villages. Jesus. With camera equipment obtained from eBay, because that matters, they went to Uganda as student filmmakers and had no plan for the focus of their intended documentary. According to Russell, the trip was inspired by the 1993 death of Dan Eldon, who had been beaten to death while trying to document the ongoing famine in Somalia. I mean, what they are doing, will do, and have done forever in Africa is the same thing that's being done in Palestine right now. It just doesn't get covered. So we do have to think about that. In Gulu, Russell and others interviewed and videotaped children who had to commute to the city every night to elude raids by the LRA on their home villages in Ancholiland. During filming, three men contracted malaria, but omitted covering their illness so the documentary would remain focused on the children. The footage they shot resulted in the original Invisible Children documentary draft, which was first screened in June 2004. Russell and others returned to Uganda for 6 months in 2005 to collect more interviews and documentation for the next Invisible Children documentary. In 2006, the Washington, D.C. screening of Russell and Poole's Rough Cut, the U.S. Congress approved discussion of the plight of the Ancholi before the Congressional Human Rights Caucus. Oh, they allowed people to talk about it? The 2006 Invisible Children Rough Cut also won Russell, Bailey, and Poole the Pioneering Spirit Award at the 2007 Heartland Film Festival. With his wife Danica Jones and John M. Chu, Russell co-wrote a musical, Moxie, which the team sold to Steven Spielberg. Boy, that's just interesting. On October 24, 2024, he married Danica Jones in La Jolla, California. They have 2 children. Russell has a sister, Amy, who is married to actor Ryan Hansen. Brief psychosis incident. On March 15th, 2012, at the height of the KONY 2012 video's viral popularity, San Diego police detained a naked Russell at the western corner of the intersection of Ingram Street and Riviera Road for psychiatric evaluation after he had a public breakdown. Russell was hospitalized for several weeks. A statement by his family said the diagnosis was a brief reactive psychosis, an acute state brought on by extreme exhaustion, stress, and dehydration as a result of the popularity of the campaign. That makes zero sense. In October 2012, Russell appeared on the TV show Oprah's Next Chapter to discuss the incident, describing it as an out-of-body experience and stating that wasn't me, that's not who I am. So I'm not going to be able to actually find what that break was about. Alright, let's see this. This is the Huffington Post. Jason Russell video, alleged footage of naked meltdown surfaces on TMZ after Jason Russell, co-founder of the advocacy charity Invisible Children, was detained by San Diego police at 11:30 a.m. Thursday morning for reportedly masturbating in public. TMZ posted graphic video of his alleged breakdown. While it's not confirmed that the naked man in the video is actually Russell, TMZ reports witnesses claim to have seen him running around naked and making sexual gestures. The co-founder is now under a psychiatric hold until authorities can determine if he's a risk to himself and others. Jason Russell was unfortunately hospitalized yesterday, suffering from exhaustion, dehydration, and malnutrition. He is now receiving medical care and is focused on getting better. The past 2 weeks have taken a severe emotional toll on all of us, Jason especially, and that toll manifested itself in an unfortunate incident yesterday. Jason's passion and his work have done so much to help so many, and we are devastated to see him dealing with this personal health issue. We will always love and support and blah, blah, blah. TMZ reports Russell was allegedly under the influence of alcohol and that authorities say he was vandalizing cars. Why would that make sense? I'll be done in a minute.
Well, that's fine. Will you re-roll this? I gotta pee. I wanna get my coffee. Oh, watch your foot.
Watch my foot. I should watch my foot that you're stepping on?
Well, I was
Watch your foot. Watch your foot, nigger. Yeah. Being censored would be if I had like 1,000 views, right? Being censored wouldn't be 11 views of a bunch of fake profiles doing nothing but talking shit. Yeah, that makes sense. 14, Sammy Sue joined 14 years ago, has 6 subscribers. She's here mad because I'm like, hey, you know, this KONY 2012 thing is kind of weird, don't you think? Don't you think it's pretty weird how that shit worked out? The guy that was behind it all, suffering from exhaustion and dehydration and malnutrition, had a psychotic break where he was running around naked, vandalizing cars and masturbating. Does that sound remotely believable to you? Have you ever known somebody to have such a psychotic break from dehydration and malnutrition? This shit is just... The crazy part is it's like, you name it. You name the event, the thing, and all you have to do is go look at the official Wikipedia, the thing they want you to know. Whether it's 100% true or not really doesn't matter. What Wikipedia tells us is it's the number one source of information. It's the thing that the system wants us to know. It's the information that the system wants us to know. So, you know, all the wiki haters, I mean, it's just such a stupid argument. You know, it's just so basic to pretend like Wikipedia isn't a viable source. It's what they want us to know. And whether you're looking up the Pulse nightclub shooting, or the San Bernardino shooting, or the Vegas shooting, or COVID, or, you know, it's a really good one to look up is the 1976 swine flu epidemic. And look up Dr. David Sensor. David Sensor.
Okay.
Look up Dr. David Sensor and see what, you know, see the presentation that they give us regarding this guy, the guy that was in charge of the 1976 swine flu vaccination program, in which 46 million Americans were vaccinated for something that didn't exist, and that they knew didn't exist, and with a vaccine that they knew was really bad for us. Go look up the Wikipedia narrative regarding that. They you know, there's no hyperbole being used here. There's no exaggeration used here. They literally present it to you as that. Where else would I have gotten the information from? Is there some sort of 1976 swine flu documentary that I don't know of, that I'm clearly plagiarizing? The fact nobody talks about it is one of those strange things to me. But then again, most of the people that we're presented with, you know, that most of us know, like if I know them and you know them, whatever, well, they're presented to us. We know them for a reason. Anomaly, he's a great example. He's this Fox News correspondent / truther. Thoughts on Columbine? I don't think about Columbine. I think all of those narratives we're presented with, especially when they know exactly what it is right off the bat, it's worth questioning. I haven't bothered to look into Columbine, but I'm sure if I did, it would be the same fucking narrative. It's the same thing. It's the same, you'll read it and you'll just go, well, that doesn't quite make sense. That's fucking weird. Where are the details? Where, you know, not the details of the killings, but the details of the people, who the bad guys were. They'll give you all side, you know, he liked to listen to this music and this was his favorite song, and he used to play the pencils, he used to pretend were drumsticks, and he would play along to the song all the time, and he whistled and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, but what about, you know, the motivation to do this? What about that whole thing? Oh yeah, we don't talk about that. What about a proper investigation? How does that work out? It's just, it's consistent. Anything you look up, you don't have to go to the conspiracy page. We need to talk about Handy Sook. Well, that's a fantastic documentary. I haven't seen it in forever, so I should actually probably watch it again. But just look it up. just look up the narrative that's presented to you on the Wikipedia pages you're not allowed to edit. And see what it says. Fucking go look up submarines if you're that interested. Go look up nuclear submarine history and see where that takes you. You would think it would be really, really cut and dry, but then it's like you already know better. This is the thing when it comes to nuclear submarines. Understand that what essentially that they're telling you is that since the 1950s, they've been able to put a nuclear power plant inside of a submarine. And there's still enough room for all the men, all the supplies, all the food, all the weapons, all the this, all the that, along with a nuclear power plant. And a water desalination plant, because they have to use desalinated water to in their nuclear plants. So it has a desalination plant and a nuclear power plant all inside of a tube that they were capable of building in the 50s. They decided they wanted them in early 52, and within a couple of years, they were there. Rickover was the guy who was, not only did he design it and all that stuff, he was in charge of the submarine program solely. He was the sole guy. Every single person that was ever involved in the submarine program until his death was interviewed by him and interviewed and approved by him. He completely ran the whole program from the 50s to the 90s, unquestioned. And he was considered an admiral, but he never actually did. He never earned it. He was never. It was all it's all fake. And he's another one of these guys who, he was Jewish by birth, but he converted to Protestant. He was a Protestant. Protestantism. That's what the narrative tells you. And when you look at his history, his narrative, this is how he got to the position that he was in. It's absolute bullshit. It really is just stupid bullshit. And you can talk all the shit you want, but you've never bothered to look into it. If you think that, and again, the nuclear sub with the nuclear power plant, the desalination plant, is also run by computers. And we all know what computers looked like in the 50s, right? Those big giant boxes with the flashing lights on them and the reel-to-reel things on them and the levers and shit. Beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 beep. Remember? You were told that forever computers took up entire rooms. Imagine the computing power it would take to run a nuclear-powered submarine. To keep all of the inside pressures consistent with the outside pressure so that the tube doesn't implode or explode. To steer, to do all that shit. These nuclear submarines in the 50s, they were just capable of doing all that shit, huh? Just like in '69, how they just magically came up with the Concorde, the hypersonic jet that they stopped using because of one incident. That was like a bird incident or some shit. They had this monopoly on world travel that shortened travel by, hours. Supposedly flew at 55,000 feet. Imagine with everybody questioning the Earth shape, if we could still fly 50,000 feet up, 55,000 feet up, and people still couldn't see the curve, then what would they say? Kind of strange how this monopoly, this expensive monopoly that just made them money hand over fist, and it's like completely catered to the rich. If I'm super rich and you can shorten my transatlantic flight by hours, oh, I'm definitely paying for it. And yet, this was a technology that existed from 1969 to the 80s, and then they shut it down, and nobody's been like, hey, let's bring back the Concorde. I bet we could make a lot of money if we were the only company providing much shorter flights for people. Hypersonic jets. The first plane to be completely controlled by computers. Tell me how that makes sense. What do you guys think 1969 computer systems look like? Show me any, like NASA. Think about what you think about NASA looks like in 1969. A bunch of guys sitting at a bunch of desks with flashing lights on them and funny screens, and you know, it's as cartoon as it gets when you actually think about it. But that's what they're showing you. The computing power required on the ground was all of this, blah, 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 these giant rooms full of computers with all this. And yet somehow the same computing power was available in the lander that couldn't possibly have held the rover and the people, and then launched itself up and all that. Just so much obvious bullshit associated with the moon landing, to the point where they don't even try to fake it anymore. It's so obviously fake that they realize that they just can't keep faking it. You know, they can't just say, you know, we shot somebody to the moon, and people have Nokia 900 cameras that can zoom in on shit and not see anything. Well, where the fuck are they? We should be able to see them, shouldn't we? It's all the same shit. It's all the same manipulation. The same theater. They're just presenting us with theater to distract us and keep us fighting each other, keep us hating each other, keep us from focusing on them. They don't care what we do. As long as we're not focused on them, they don't care. And that's what we need to realize, man. Nobody cares what you think. We just come here for hours every day to watch you. To watch you tell us what you think. Funny how that works. This is the stupidity that this is the intelligence that comes my way. I'm the crazy one talking about the crazy conspiracy theories, and everything I'm saying is wrong. And that's the best they can do. It's pretty interesting. Look at this shit. Look at how stupid you guys are. His mind don't work, W-I-R-K, right, y'all. His mind don't work, spelled W-I-R-K, right, y'all. Yeah, you guys should probably try to be more like good old Randy, who thinks autism is funny. Oh, you're just an example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Yeah, no. No. We looked that shit up. It's stupid. I can't remember exactly what it is, but isn't it like believing things because other people believe it or some shit? I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's this new thing that's said, and it's just stupid. It's stupid. And look at how basic these arguments are. Instead of saying this guy is wrong about this, that, or the other, it's just more and more stupidity. Why do you think that is? It seems like it would make so much more sense for you to not make me look right. There's cognitive bias in which people with limited competence limited competence in a particular domain, overestimate their abilities. Oh yeah, okay, that's what it is. Okay. I overestimate my abilities. That's what I'm doing. By constantly proving it with your responses, I'm overestimating my abilities, which are, again, to what? To read what's presented and then talk about it? I don't really know what I'm overestimating that I can do here, but I've been pointing out, yep, here we go again. Somebody's going to claim that they do it and that I just don't. Instead of flat out just doing it real quick, I've said you were wrong about this because of this and you ignored it. Instead of doing that, it's just this dumb claim that, oh, they've been doing it. They've been doing it. Gotcha. Zero abilities. I know how to spell work. I know how to point out stupid people really well. Oh boy, you didn't like the Dunning-Kruger. I didn't like it? I mean, again, look at how you're so desperate to want to affect me like I affect you that you keep telling yourself you're soliciting an emotion from me. And you're not, you know. I appreciate your efforts, but again, and so if you know about the Dunning-Kruger effect, you would think you would actually have more arguments to make. Like that's something not the average everyday person knows, but you seemingly know it because you probably heard somebody else say it at one point, or more than likely it's one of the provided talking points. But, you know, unlike you guys, when something is said along those lines, I address it. You know, I don't just hide behind crybaby kind of bullshit. You said something and I addressed it. I overestimate my abilities. And when asked to elaborate on your assumption or your assertion, what would it be? On your claim? On your libel? That's libel. When asked to elaborate, you cry. Because you don't have anything. You have the base talking point. But to explain what the fuck you mean, you just shut down. And I appreciate it, you know. Again, this is often more powerful than when people agree with me. Because you could say people are agreeing with me just out of blind whatever. When it comes to somebody is here directly trying to counter what I'm saying and you know, disrupt the feed and detract and all that shit, and they can't, this is the best they can do, provides another example of what I'm saying. Like, I appreciate that shit, man. Please keep going. What are your credentials? Well, here, let me provide you with some credentials. Oh, man. It's just too easy. It's too easy. Thoughts on paraglider invasion of Israel. I think it's pretty fucking convenient for Israel that Hamas released a video after everybody started doubting the legitimacy of it. They happened to film themselves practicing with paragliders and then released it on the Hamas network, just in case anybody was doubting Israel's narrative. Hamas came out and was like, oh yeah, look, here's a video of us practicing our paragliding. It's pretty fucking stupid. It's pretty stupid. Did I work at Newport News Shipbuilding? No, but I lived near there. You watched boats being built. Good for you, buddy. Good. Did you have a good time? Did you see a really big boat? Was it cool? Yeah. Look at these dumb comments. I'm trying to find anything, but there's nothing. Who shot JFK? I don't care. It was Mossad. It was a... We just don't even know. We don't know what it was. We don't even know if Kennedy truly died. We know the body was switched according to the official narrative. We know the whole thing was a very, very carefully orchestrated hoax. And dual Israeli citizen Abraham Zapruder is whose footage that we have access to that took 12 years. Like, people think that footage was available instantly. Like, there was a YouTube back then, so you could go look it up. The only time you ever saw that footage is when whatever TV station you were looking at happened to play it. You didn't have access to that footage. And that's only after the first 12 years where it was locked down, but thanks to Dick Gregory and the Freedom of Information Act, the Zapruder film was finally released. But with today's standards and today's methods and scrutiny, the Zapruder film has clearly been edited. So once you understand that the Zapruder film has been edited, it doesn't matter what it shows you. It's been edited. Pretty simple. Of course they are. They're to blame for everything. That's what happens when you it's why you're not allowed to say they have all the money, the power, and the control. Like that's some sort of slur. Like that's some sort of negative to say about somebody or a group. Oh, they're so good, they have all of the money and the power and they control everything. Don't you dare say that, that's terrible. The reason you're not supposed to say that is because if you say that, then you acknowledge the fact that things are the way they are because they're controlled to be this way. And they don't have to be this way. It's done by choice. So, yes, everything. Who cares about KONY 2012? I don't care. I don't care about, I mean, the whole situation needs to be fixed. That's just one little piece, and it was an old thing. Like, say it's 2012. It's old bullshit. But it's just an example. To me, it's the first example of a social media psyop that went, worldwide. And you've seen multiple iterations since. Look, I think you're wrong. Okay. It's easy to say that. On what part and why? That's the hard part. Hours and hours of your stupid lives wasted here listening to a guy who hate. Ha ha ha. What's worse? Who's worse off in the end? So you're sitting here saying that you've been listening to my stupid lives for hours and hours? Like, who does that? Who does that and then cries about the fact that they've done it? I've wasted so much time watching you talk about hate. I could be doing anything else and I choose to be here instead. Why do you do that? Like, what sense does that make? That's if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel, stupid. That's acknowledging that you know what the problem is. But you're still, like, you don't want people to look at it. You honestly thought that would make me look bad? You admitting to watching me for hours and hours? What kind of weirdo does that shit? It's so fucking goofy. It's so goofy. Anyway, that's a good place to end. Go get the free stuff, free download, all that shit in the description. Watch Hollywoodism, links in the description. Facebook videos are in the description. Go check the shit out. Like, share, sub, help out, do everything that matters. Do something. Educate yourself somehow. Seriously, go watch Hollywoodism. Watch that shit. It's fucking mind-blowing. And most importantly, pedophiles, do one good thing in your life and kill yourself.